Hi, I'm Dr. Wendy Nickerson from the Nickerson Institute of Integrative Health Training. Thank you for being here. I'm here today with my co host, Ben Myers, and we are delighted to introduce you today to a graduate of the Integrative Mental Health Coach Training Program. Her name is Sara Warwick, and she's from the Boston area in the United States. Sara, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Wendy. And hello, Ben. Nice to see both of you.
It is so good to see you. And as we get started here, I know a little bit about your background, and I'm really excited for you to share kind of how you got into this world. So if you could just start us out by kind of giving us an introduction of what your work history is and what got you to this point we're at now.
Thank you. So nice to be here today. So I started my career in New York in fashion marketing at 17 magazine and went on to pursue sports marketing, which I was in for about 15 years, which took me out to the West Coast and then back to Boston to be closer to family. Was a working mom for a number of years and then was able to retire when we had our third and fourth daughter.
And so you have had a lot of different experiences other than mental health coaching. So, what brought you to mental health coaching?
So as a backstory, I would have to say that I think the first step in this journey really started when I was 28, and my father was murdered at our house in Connecticut and became a survivor victim of homicide at that point. And there was very little to no support system for survivors. And as a family, I was the youngest of four. We were navigating criminal trials, civil trials, without any support. So feeling that level of shock, isolation, PTSD, social anxiety, and wading through all of that was really life altering. And then as life continued, and as it does, I felt, or I do feel like I have had a front row seat at many crises, and that really ran the gamut within the mental health realm. And I really have spent a lot of my time, other than parenting our daughters, seeking to help individuals who did not have support, who were perhaps an underserved population or did not have access. And so that is really where I think the seed of passion was planted for me, was how lost and disoriented I was at the young age of 28. And then also having firsthand experience with things such as bipolar disorder, depression, homelessness, OCD, suicide, divorce. Really, I began to feel like there had to be a way to share my experience to perhaps help other people who were suffering.
So, what I'm gathering from that is that you took your challenges and you used them to help others. That is such a
Yes.
significant, that is so significant to me, because what is that saying about, you've healed when you're ready to help others? And there's a saying about, also about the house on fire. When the house is on fire and you get out, but you go back in for others, like seems to be part of your mission, your soul's mission in life. Not that we're here to fix people, but we are here to support them and let them know that they're not alone throughout their challenges, because we all certainly have those challenges. Sara, you've just revealed some things to me that I didn't know, and I am just so proud of you and for you, and I need you to know that.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. And I do want to add that throughout the last 30 years, I obviously was very busy raising four daughters, but I really was searching for a way to pay it forward. So, yoga and that certification, and the trauma informed yoga, and serving as a translator for Spanish to English for juvenile seeking asylum was all part of this journey. And then when I found the Nickerson Institute certification program, I felt like that was just what I had been looking for to formalize my and add a professional layer of credibility to be certified, not just through my personal life experience, and to put terminology to things that I had experienced, to say, oh, that's what post-traumatic growth is, that's what it's called, what I experienced, that, and now that's the term for it. So I have to thank you for putting that out there for people like me.
I certainly appreciate that. You never know when you start a program or start a business how it is meant to help others. You just follow your inner guidance. So thank you for sharing that, Sara. I really appreciate it.
And going through the history that you've gone through, Sara, once again, obviously, thank you so much for sharing, not with just with us, but with people that are going through similar things or experiencing similar emotions. What I'd really like to know is, what type of struggles did you find going through the process of not just the life events, but then to be turning things around to put your hand back out to help others that are going through similar things? What are some of those struggles that you experienced transitioning from being the person going through it to then helping the people that are going through it now?
I think that's a really good question, because I look back at it now, and there is definitely a period of time in my life where I really had to turn inward, and I had to allow myself to be vulnerable. And as shocking as it is, there's a level of shame involved in being a part of violence and being witness to violence. And I know that that's not right, and that we shouldn't feel that, but that is what I felt. And so it was working on becoming comfortable with what was, and knowing that I could not change the course of events, and that the only choice that I had was my attitude towards it. And how was I going to carry it forward? Did I want to be angry? Did I want to be bitter? No, I didn't want to be that. And so that evolved into this feeling of deep commitment, or a profound calling, I have to say, to channel what I had experienced and what I had learned to provide it to someone else, to other people, to make it have them understand that there's hope, that there's help out there, and there's further meaning to life.
That's so powerful. And I think you saying, understanding you had to process and go through that and work through the stages of not just grief, but the injustices, and learning how to almost come to as much peace with that as you can, is an incredibly powerful and what feels like unfortunate gift to have to kind of sharpen on the tool belt. But the power you are giving back to the community of people that are going through this, because unfortunately you're not the lone person has gone through this. So to have people like you be able to be a trusted resource to provide space for people to feel safe, to know that the person I'm talking to can understand what I'm feeling, is an incredible gift. And I'm just so grateful that you are able to give back to these people who feel lost, who feel like they're unheard, or that people don't know how they feel. So thank you for the work you do, and the safe space that you provide for these people, because that is such a positive impact on the world.
Thank you.
It is life changing. You are a life changer, Sara. That's what I'm getting out of all of this. Sara, I know we talked a little bit about your niche, and your niche is broad. But can you tell me a little bit more, given your past experiences? If you could condense your niche, what would it be in terms of coaching?
I would have to say emerging adults through adult. But for me, it really is more about the fit. It's whether a person can relate to me, whether they feel safe with me, because if that is not there, it feels like a non-starter. There are some natural connections that need to happen, and if they don't, it's not upsetting for me, and it shouldn't be upsetting for that person. It's just the connection happens, and if the connection happens, that's the bridge. That's the first step in this journey of, me offering perspective, hope, some integrative mindfulness ideas, to this person. But that to me is really the first thing. So my niche is not very well defined. It's more about the fit.
And I love that, Sarah, because we know that one of the most potent factors in mental health coaching is the ability to attune to the other person, to have that attunement and that presence. And that's where the healing begins. So if it's not a good fit, that attunement might be off a bit. So I commend you on making sure that it's a good fit so that you can have the attunement that's required. So way to go. So I'm going to give you a scenario, Sarah, and see if I can challenge you a little bit. If someone in their late teens came to you and they had anxiety, and let's say they suffered with complex trauma also, how might you begin to work with them with their anxiety, given your expertise and your background?
I think initially in a coaching session, I would just let them speak. We would really need to establish a level of trust so that they were able to articulate or show in some way. Maybe it's hard to articulate when you have deep feelings of anxiety or fear or whatever it is, but so that initially I would just want to hear from them. I would probably very early on introduce the idea of mindfulness, and then maybe nudge towards a yoga practice. But it isn't for everybody. But just the initial idea of using your breath when your body tells you that you're anxious. Your body is an antenna. It's going to be the first person before your brain registers, your body will. So I would want to, off the bat, give some tools, to a person who was suffering with anxiety, just something that they could use readily.
Yeah. And we know that there are a lot of misconceptions about yoga. So how might you explain that to a teen, a late teen, someone will say 19?
Well, I understand the misconception about yoga when you're 19. I know when I was 19, I wanted loud music. It didn't count if I didn't sweat. I didn't want to think about anything. I used to call it getting the demons out, and that came in the form of high cardio and high music. And I don't think I would have liked yoga at 19. So I would definitely be challenged to get a 19-year-old client into yoga. But I am witness to the transformation and the transformative powers of yoga. So I really think that yoga really it's about breathing. It's about focusing on the present. It is a incredibly deep spiritual practice, but that's for a later date. But I would really talk to them about the misconceptions of yoga, that it's not a practice about being flexible. And depending on how involved you want to get, if you're a 19-year-old that is really looking for a physical practice, it can be very physical too. So it's really just starting with simple explanation of what yoga is and also what yoga isn't.
I love that answer. You have nailed it. You have nailed it. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you.
You have nailed that. And as somebody who has tried practicing yoga, your explanation of that truly helps me as a developing yogi. um, and with that type of experience that you have and the type of background that you have, just from spanning between life experience to professional experience to exercise and yoga experience, what combination of all these things helps you become a really good integrative mental health coach?
Well, I'd have to say, okay, so it was my life experiences. I started yoga 20 years ago, and at that point, I was definitely searching, and I think I did feel lost. I was overwhelmed as I had 4 kids. I didn't have an outlet for what was going on inside, and then the mat became a place for me, and then I took it off the mat, so it became integrated into my life, and then I really saw that. I have spent many years coaching people on such varied topics, whether it's for a son or a daughter or a friend. And so some of the lessons that I learned in my personal life, and then some of the kind of modalities or tactics that I learned in yoga, were helpful to share. And then finally, with the Nickerson Institute certification, I felt like it was just putting everything together for me, so that it wasn't just this calling that I had. I felt, and it was my own inner narrative, as we all have, saying, I don't know if you're certified enough, you're not good enough, you're not licensed, you're not. So it kind of checked that box for me as well.
And thank you so much for sharing, because I think what a lot of us are looking for is that person we can relate to, that we can feel heard with, that we can grow with. And it feels not even so much as a coach, but almost like a teammate, somebody that we can sit with and just be our authentic selves with. So you being able to provide that space is going to be able, not only has helped so many people, but in the future going to be able to help so many more. So again, thank you for what you do and allowing people to be in that space with you.
Well, I also feel like, with that, Ben, it's just that I don't have the answers. I am not going to give advice. I can share perspective, and I can share strategies and tools, and I can share genuine empathy.
And that's so powerful. Wendy?
Sarah, I remember your assignment submissions when they came in and your recordings. And something that stands out for me is the detail that you provided and the organization for the scenarios of how you would help a certain client. And that really stands out for me. And I remember thinking, reading those assignments, okay, she's got it. She's going to be a winner. She's going to help a lot of people. So I wanted to share that with you right now. Now, saying that, I know that you are developing your own practice. And I'm wondering what strategies you're using to develop your practice. How are you going to let people know about you?
Well, I have developed a website, and that was a really big thing for me. Just dusting off that muscle in terms of, what am I doing? How do I want to do it? What do I want to say about it? How am I going to how am I going to convey authenticity? So my website is empoweringmentalhealth.net. And I will use that as kind of a landing page for people that kind of explains what I am doing and a little bit of background, et cetera. I think, for me, I'm such a grassroots person. I think I will, integrate into the communities where I am, and also offer a virtual option. Everything I'm offering is also in Spanish. So I do hope to be able to reach out to underserved populations and provide help for people who just simply don't have any access. And so if this will unfold, this sounds corny, but it's true. My heart is my guide, and what feels real for me, I will follow, and what feels kitschy and commercial, I won't.
I love it. I love it. Don't you love that, Ben?
I think that's just your intuition taking the steering wheel. And I think more people in this world, especially in the places where you're in an empathetic and compassionate serving space, we get so blown away and think that we have to do everything in this catchy, flashy way. But at the end of the day, we just want to help people. So if you're just tuning into that intuition, I think your intuition wants to help heal, provide space. And I absolutely agree. And as we wrap up here, I would just love, you mentioned your website. What is the best way for people to get in contact with you if they're looking to reach out to you for a little bit of help, or maybe just an intro call?
So on my website is all my information. I'm really happy to take texts or cell phone calls. So I would say really visiting empoweringmentalhealth.net. Yeah, everything's right there. And call me or text me or reach it. There's a contact me tab. It's a very simple space that's easy to navigate.
That's perfect. The more simple, the better. Things are too complicated these days. I love the grassroots approach. I love your approach in general, and obviously getting to know you off camera. I'm so blown away by everything you've done. Obviously, learning more about your journey today has been so inspiring for me to hear. I'm so excited to see what you do in this space and the impact and positive ripples you're going to have on this world. So thank you for joining us today.
Awesome.
Sarah,
Thank you both.
Onward and upward, Sarah. Thank you so much. We appreciate
thank you.
it.
Take care, everybody. And thank
you.
you for joining us on the Nickerson podcast today. And we will catch you on the next episode. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.